So if you had to pick one to ride home, Mazar, which one are you picking?
Well, this is behind the scenes footage of how you set up flyby. We're enjoying a cold bolter. Oh, fuck! Because you need two really awesome motorcycles in hello!
Wow, that's really surprised me.
Yeah, I think I would.
This is a special moment for my subscribers.
Well, here we are at Pro Cycles Hornsby with Matt Palmer, the one and only. How are you, mate?
Yeah, well, and you?
Very well. You sold me both these beasts.
I did indeed.
The KTM 1390R, the MR. We've got them both here, and today's the day. We're going to put them to the test, mate. Who do you reckon's going to come out on top?
I reckon one of the two that I sold you will.
Well, boom, 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 get back into my room.
I reckon.
What a day, cheers.
What a day. Cheers.
We've been riding the 2024 Superduke EVO 1390R and the BMW M1000R all day.
And literally got off them 20 minutes ago.
20 minutes ago, we were like covered in sweat. We had our leathers on, and now we are sitting in a hot tub. And behind us, I hope you can appreciate the view of Middle Harbour here in Sydney as the sun goes down and we're enjoying a cold bolter. Oh, fuck! Okay, my microphone is now, I've got a little windsock on the top of my DJI mic too. It's now a beer flavoured windsock.
Okay. Oh, great, great.
Well, here we go. A nice coffee with skim milk, because XODAS needs to watch his waistline. And a muffin or two. A blueberry muffin. The motorcyclist's fuel of champions. As we now embark upon the River Road. Here we go. The MR versus the KTM 1390. And this is a road, by the way, that I did a few weeks back on the Hyper. And I loved it, but I thought, I did make a comment about how this road would be very difficult on a bike like this. Well, we're about to find out whether that was true. This is Mazar, I'm XODAS. We just want to talk about our ride today. Compare these two stallions. These what Bon Jovi call them? On a steel horse I ride. These two steel horses. So we might have a chat. As you know, I've got my criterium, which I use to compare bikes and to talk about various bikes back to back, and we'll go through those criterium. But just your first thoughts when you got on the two bikes today, Mazar. What were you thinking?
Well, I wasn't sure what to expect, to be honest. You know, but I was also a little bit anxious. I mean, new bikes. I haven't ridden them before. I haven't ridden on these streets before. The gear you gave me, it was all different sizes, so I had a lot of things to contend with.
Yeah, you looked a little awkward.
Yeah, to start with, but I just got on it and...
I don't mean on the bike, just in the gear you're wearing.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah. Look,
your pants looked a bit too big for you. And you rode the BMW first, and then you rode for about an hour and a half on that, and then we swapped. Tell me about your general thoughts with the BMW when you first got on it.
BMW was it was very comfortable bike, ergonomically. I felt like it was a slightly sportsy. You know, my feet were tucked up underneath me, but I didn't feel like it was too harsh. I never got arm pump. It was comfortable. Obviously, with no screen, I thought, oh, am I going to get wind buffeting? No, that didn't happen. So yeah, it was a really nice bike. It was so user friendly and such an easy bike to ride. I think I was set up in
Race Pro 1 I had you on, which was like the second to highest power setting on the bike, so it was smoother than direct throttle. But you did go to direct throttle later on. What sort of difference did that make to the bike?
Oh, it did. It was a kick in the arse. It was really a big difference, you know.
I say it direct throttle turns that inline 4 into a V4 almost.
Yeah, you could say that. I love the sound. BMW had a great sound. I loved it. That muffler.
SC Project's muffler, yep.
Yeah, it could. If it was any louder, it'd be too loud.
Yeah.
But if it was any quieter,
yeah, the overrun, the bangs and the pops were awesome. And I got on the KTM. It's the first time I've got on it in a couple of weeks because, as you know, it got smashed up. And look, it was my first proper ride outside of the city limits, and man, I immediately felt just so special on that bike. You know, it's an addictive machine. And look, I actually think the two bikes, even though they're in the same category, you know, the super naked or hyper naked category, they're to me, they're incredibly different bikes. You made a comment, you thought they were similar but different. I don't think they're similar at all. The only thing that's similar is they got two wheels.
They're a different riding experience, but the fit, hopping on them, it wasn't hard to sort of get off one.
Yeah.
You know, it was the fit was very similar. Once you let the clutch go, then it was different. Yeah, they both told different stories.
Let's get into the criterion. Let's start with the seating position. I mean, I felt the BMW was sitting in the bike, and I felt the KTM was sitting a little more on it, but not perched on top. And look, I felt both bikes actually, everything was where it should be. Although I must admit, my arms had to reach just a little longer on the BMW. The KTM, the front of the KTM was a bit closer to me, but both were very comfortable.
I did feel when I got onto the KTM, definitely you're looking over the top of the bike. It doesn't feel as long.
Yeah, the BMW felt lower and longer to me. And look, in terms of the switch gear, you know, where the buttons were and operating the TFT and all that sort of stuff, I actually think they both do a very, very good job. But I reckon KTM's upgraded their TFT definitely and their menu system. And for mine, I reckon they've actually lifted the game. BMW is always the benchmark, but you know, that TFT is amazing, great information. But man, KTM, like, it's got pictures of the bike doing certain things. For example, wheelie control, it shows you the bike at a very low or a high wheelie, and right through that menu system, it's more interactive, it's more engaging. And look, that's a comment, by the way, you can make of the overall bike, I think. But that switch gear on the 1390 is vastly improved over the 1290. In my earlier review of the 1290, I thought the switch gear was awful. I thought it was absolutely awful.
The BMW was in a better position to look at through my helmet. When I was on the KTM, I found myself having to tip my head down slightly to read the information coming off the screen. BMW, I just had to drop my eyes down, it's right there.
What about the, let's talk about the gear shifting of the two bikes. Because, I mean, the KTM is very, very good, and it's still a new bike. And the quick shifter will get better. It's very tactile, but how good is the quick shifter on the BMW?
It's a standout feature. The bikes I currently have riding in another country, I don't have quick shifters on both either of them. I've used them before on bikes, and so today I was using my clutch to start with, and then go, oh, that's right,
you don't need to,
you know. But so once I got into it, I was away. So riding the BMW first, yeah, it was effortless. It was nice. The KTM, I thought that was a little bit clunky to start with. As it warmed up, it got better.
Yeah, it's getting better.
Yeah.
I found when you're at sort of low RPM or low throttle opening, the KTM was a little clunky. BMW didn't care. BMW was smooth at any RPM. They're about, they're both very good when they're up and running. But look, there's no doubt in my mind that quick shifter on the BMW is the best in the market. However, just one little negative: it's almost too good. With the KTM, you get a bit of a tactile feeling when you actually engage the shifter. Whereas the BMW is so good, you feel nothing. It's just like boom, 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 boom. And I kind of like feeling something. So, is it too good? I don't know. So that's quick shift. What about let's talk about the engines of these two bikes. You know, you've got 999cc inline 4 on the BMW, and you've got the 1349 or 1350cc twin on the KTM. How would you describe the differences between those two engines today?
On a BMW, it's just so user friendly up to about like a half opening, and then bang, it's away. It just livens up. So it makes it so easy to ride around town. And as soon as you get past that 80 or 100k, you just give it a twist and away you go.
When that shift cam kicks in, it's like a turbocharger, isn't it?
It's just like that. It's lovely.
Yeah. Well, the KTM's got that these days as well. They've got their shift cam, whatever they call it, and I think that's added a lot up high. But to be frank with you, I didn't need to go up high on the KTM because it's the short shifting and the torque profile is such that I was short shifting all day and loving it. I didn't have to worry about 8,000 RPM or higher. I hadn't got that zone at all today. I didn't need to. You're just so tactile and responsive at low RPM. That LC8 engine, it's an absolute marvel. And look, I reckon the thing they've done to seriously improve that is they've given it two personalities. Using electronics, that bike can be quite civilised. It can actually be a very easy bike to ride, and it can be a brute. Whereas the 1290 I felt was just a brute all the time. And in many ways, KTM are beating BMW at its own game. Because the BMW has been renowned for having two personalities, easy to ride, great around town, but also super fast on the track. I reckon KTM are now playing the same game, and there's a chance they're doing it better.
It's the difference between a KTM and the BMW is that KTM just wants to pull my arms out of the sockets.
Yeah.
You know, I loved it. You know, just, you know, I'm coming back. Hang on.
Yeah.
Give me my arms back.
Yeah. When I got off the KTM, I read that first and then jumped on the BMW. I have to say, the BMW felt a bit flat. Okay, and about 10 minutes later, I was reacclimatised to the BMW. I was riding it the way I want to ride it, and it felt good. But initially, it felt flat getting off the KTM, and that's because that LC8 engine, it is a brute. But I reckon the way they've developed their electronics, that brute has been tamed, and you can choose which version of the brute you want. Do you want the brute that's going to sit politely at the table with muscles bulging out of its shirt and speak beautifully to you and use their manners? Or do you want that brute to just stand up and beat the shit out of you? You decide. You decide which brute you want. But they're both there. Whereas the old bike, there was only the manic brute. You didn't have the polite brute. It's a hell of an achievement for KTM. Honestly, I'm blown away by that. Yeah, a little bit of a delay in proceedings. There's some roadworks of significant kind going on up there. Now, I got to say, I mean, the MR is a hot-looking bike. It is a hot-looking bike, but the Superduke, to my eye, right now, it looks hotter. I mean, it's sick. I love that. I love that front. It's brilliant. Complete with scratched winglets, engine clutch cover, you know, pegs, bit of a scratched tank. That'll all be fixed in due course. But the MR, look at it, I mean, it's just such a stealth weapon, Darth Vader. But yeah, I tell you what, the KTM's looking pretty tasty. What about suspension? I mean, they both have electronic suspension. What did you make of the differences in suspension of the two bikes?
I thought the suspension on both of them not bad, but I felt a couple of times hitting the potholes, which seems in New South Wales to be just part of the territory. I'd rather be sitting on the BMW when I'm hitting the pothole than I do on the KTM.
Interesting. Well, I mean, the BMW's got a bit of an advantage because I've dialed that in. I've spent hours on it and I've actually set the suspension up. KTM straight out of the box. Yeah. And one of my subscribers actually given me some settings for the KTM, which I'm going to try tomorrow, and we'll see how that changes that. I thought they were both excellent. I think the BMW's a stiffer bike, actually, but it was on soft settings, whereas the KTM, I think, is a softer bike, but it was on firmer settings. So we might play around with that tomorrow. But both systems work brilliantly well.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about handling? You know, tipping in that bike into corners and maintaining a lean and coming out of corners. What's your general feeling on the handling of the two bikes?
I thought the BMW was absolutely excellent. You know, it was my first bike I rode, and it was just so easy to turn in and just behaved beautifully through the corners. And then I jumped on the orange machine and I went, oh my god, it's just like it for such a brute. It just ate the corners. It tipped in around lefts and rights just so well.
Well, do you know, I found the faster I went, the more confident I felt on the KTM. And when you're tipping into a corner on that thing, the bike just falls over. So it can hold quite good corner speed, and it just a little bit of counter steer, and boom, she falls over into the corner.
Oh yeah, I just used my elbows, and I was just pointing my elbows towards the corner, and the bike just followed beautifully.
Yeah, I mean, the BMW is well known to be an agile bike with great handling, but I actually think the KTM is better. Now, the 1290 was good too. One of the things I remember about the 1290 was its handling was excellent. But geez, this 1390, that combination of the torque, the way you can pull out of corners, and that just the way corners in general, wow, for a road bike, and it is a road bike, right? It was built for the road, and on the roads, which is where we were today, I actually think it gets the chocolates on handling. I mean, BMW's awesome, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
and it'll blow you away.
Yeah.
But then you get on the KTM and you're like, oh,
Yeah. So it's got a little bit of X factor to it, you know.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, I think you'd have to give that one the first prize. Yeah.
well, that just a couple of times today we just did some straight line acceleration, right? Just boom. How do the two bikes feel when accelerating hard? Because on paper, there's not much in it. But how did it feel?
I think it's the BMW's more linear, being a 4-cylinder, and it pulls and it just it just gathers speed so quickly. Where the acceleration on the KTM is more instant, more oof, it has more of a blah, than a vroom. I like blah rather than vroom.
Yep.
So both of them, did beautifully, but KTM I think might have just stole my heart there a wee bit.
Look, I think at road speeds, acceleration, I think the KTM is a far more engaging and harder accelerating bike at road speeds. I think when you get on an open track, that top end of the BMW is gonna kick the KTM's ass. But on the road, you do not get that opportunity.
I must admit, when I was following you and you were riding the KTM and you gave it a bit of a handful, the bark coming out of the Kovacs pipe was just brilliant. But I mean, otherwise it's a very quiet bike.
Very quiet bike. Yeah, when it comes to that sound, I was a bit disappointed actually in the KTM. I thought it was a little bit too quiet, and I think that orchestra that you were referring to coming out of the back pipe, if you're behind the bike, I think you're getting to experience that. But on the bike, you don't get to experience that as much. But you do get a great induction sound, which is very addictive. But the actual exhaust sound is pretty quiet on the bike. Whereas the Beamer with the SC projects, obviously, which is not a fair comparison, but it sounded great. It sounded fantastic.
It does. That pipe sounds fantastic.
Mazar is on the KTM, I'm on the MR, back to back babies, back to back, and immediately this feels longer. Immediately. Here we go. Yeah, it feels lower and longer. Straight up. First, there you go, there's a breakthrough for you. An amazing piece of analysis. Well, this is behind the scenes footage of how you set up a flyby. So the first thing you have to do is take a wee-wee. The second thing is you need a nice curvy road where you can see the road in both directions around a corner. That's the second thing. Third thing you need is you need two really awesome motorcycles, and hello! That's exactly what we have. Camera here on the corner. We'll see us coming through here and out there. This is behind the scenes XODAS action. This is a special moment for my subscribers. See what happens when the camera's not on. Flyby time! So we come down the road like so, and then we fly by. Pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. We'll wait for that car to go by so we don't catch it up. Have a look at the beautiful orange. Magnificent. Magnificent. And I reckon we'd be good to go for flyby. This is how you do a flyby. And then we do it again in the other direction. How fun! Behind the scenes, the making of XODAS, babies. check it. Check it. Two of the best motorcycles on the planet. Flyby complete. What about braking, Mazza? Like braking, I mean, everyone raves about the brakes on the BMW. How do you compare the braking on both of those machines?
Yeah, I found the braking on the BMW to be probably one of the best bikes I've ridden brake-wise, you know. Because I'm old school, I tend to use a back brake, front brake together, just the way I ride, you know. With the I think the KTM was a little bit more progressive.
Yes. Yeah, that initial response on the brake in the BMW is like no other bike I've ever ridden.
Great.
But the power of the brakes on the KTM, and geez, that bike needs good brakes, right? Very impressive. I think it's pretty close. I personally prefer the BMW's brake system just, but they're both excellent. Which bike do you prefer the looks of?
Ooh, I mean they're so totally different looking, you know. One looks like the Predator out of a science fiction movie, and the other one looks like a Lego piece of Lego made up. The BMW Lego, I think they've copied the Lego model when they built it.
Yeah.
You know, which is great. When I was riding along, there was a couple of guys. Most of the kids were looking out the windows, and they were looking more towards the BMW than they were to the KTM.
I suspect that's because the BMW is a rare bike. That is a rare looking bike. There's not many around. And when I ride it, everyone looks at it. I mean, it turns so many, and it looks so cool. The KTM, there's a lot more KTMs with orange around the roads that kind of look generally the same. But I personally, when those two bikes, when we stopped at that roadworks, and those two bikes were sitting next to each other, to me, the KTM was oozing with sex appeal. I'm like, I want that. I want that now, and I want lots of it. And then I looked at the BMW, it was like a hitman in the background going, if you want that, you're going to get through me first. Let's just talk about some of the basics. In terms of pricing, the BMWs are the more expensive of the two just, because with the KTM you've got to dial up all the options. So, but they're about line ball. Maybe the BMW is slightly more expensive. I think the BMW would be more expensive to crash because all that carbon, I mean, replacing that, it costs you a lot of money, and I know how much it costs to replace the stuff on the KTM because it's just been crashed. But look, so pricing wise, probably the BMW is slightly more expensive. Fuel economy, we actually tested that. The bikes were identical, weren't they?
Pretty much. There was probably 2 cents in it.
Yeah, I mean, we rode all day, and the BMW's got a smaller tank, so the light came on, and we had to fill up both of them, and I think we put 12.5 litres into both of them, didn't we?
Yeah.
But the interesting thing though about the fuel situation, the KTM's got a much bigger tank, so the range on the KTM is about 100 k's more.
Yeah, by the time the BMW fuel reminder came on, I still had 147 k's left.
Yeah, interesting. I wonder how that would actually play out if we kept riding. I don't know if it would be that much difference, but I think there is definitely a discernible difference in range, no question. Let's talk about the electronics of the bike, because BMW has set the benchmark for so many years on the electronics, the way that traction control and wheelie control and the 6-axis IMU and all of this stuff interacts with each other. They've created a 210 horsepower bike that anyone can ride in any conditions. So, and you never really feel the electronics coming in. And I've got a view on the KTM, which I'll share in a minute. What's your view on the electronics?
Well, I mean, I got on the bike today and rode it for 3 hours each, basically, and most of my effort was about learning all the new environment roads of the bike. So I never really had a chance to play with the electronics, just a couple of mode changes. But one thing I'll take my head off to BMW, it's the first time I've ever experienced this accessory, and that's that brake locking system.
Oh, hill hold, great. People
so
know how I feel about this. I think it's more important than engine, suspension, ergonomics. Hill hold's the #1 feature on a motorcycle.
And like in a town like Sydney, where you're up and down, like, if you live in California or something and you're just going to see desert, well, you won't really use it. But
around a hilly city, you use it all the time, don't you?
All the time. Fantastic. Yeah.
I was joking, actually. I mean, the engine is more important, obviously, than hill hold. But I love it. I love hill hold. That was a joke.
Yeah, I want one.
Well, I want an aftermarket one for the KTM because it doesn't have it. Okay, so I might look. Just one thing I want to say. Like, I agree with all that about the BMW's electronics, market leading. But I've got to tell you, of what KTM have done. That thing is a 190 horsepower, 140 Newton meter bike, right? With this brute engine. You know, a twin engine with 1350cc. The thing is an absolute weapon, and anyone could ride it. Now, I wouldn't have said that of the 1290, but this 1390 is so easy to ride, and the way they have done the electronics has completely transformed that bike. I love it. I just love it. The fact that I can open that throttle and it can hold a wheelie at 12 centimeters perfectly, right? And with no variability in that, it's incredible. That bike, by rights on paper, should be unrideable. It should be completely unrideable. But it is the most engaging, enjoyable, rideable thing, and that comes down, I think, to the combination of that engine with the electronics. They need to exist together, and together they are in harmony. It is a wonderful achievement, and for that reason, I'm giving the chocolates on electronics to KTM. Every incremental change in the electronic setting on that KTM, you feel it. There's 10 bikes in one, and it's so important. People underestimate the role of getting the setup of the electronics right on these bikes, because one incremental change in wheelie control or in traction control or in throttle response, all interacting together, can transform the bike. It can make it better or worse. And so this is new to me, the KTM, so I've got a fair bit to play with and work out its optimal settings. But honestly, out of the box, incredible. Like, how does the BMW make you feel, and how does the KTM Superduke make you feel?
I mean, I was privileged to ride both bikes, so thanks for that exercise. It was an amazing day. Loved both of them. The BMW, I just felt like I'd been out for a date with a girl in a beautiful frock, and she's got all the makeup and she just looks $1,000,000, and we just danced around that floor all night and had a great time, it was superb. I'd do it again. The KTM, she was the chick in the corner with the tattoos and the singlet, and no one was picking her for a dance. Well, you take her for a dance, and you're going home with her.
You can only get that analysis, that level of detail here at XODAS. I mean, the sophistication that goes into our analysis on this channel. Look, the BMW, I felt safe on it. It makes you feel safe. It makes you feel like you're a Superman. You can do anything, and you've got a safety net. And you can be fast, and you can be agile, and you can look good, and you feel good on the BMW. The KTM, it makes you feel alive. It makes you feel alive. I mean, it's a visceral experience, and I was surprised today how much. Look, spoiler alert. I was surprised how much more I enjoyed the KTM today than the BMW. I thought the bikes were going to be really close, and it was going to be a very difficult kind of a decision for me. But I've got to say, Mazar, that Superduke has just taken things to a completely new level. When they were announcing it in the press release, everyone was saying, "Oh, why does the Superduke need more capacity and more power?" Well, they didn't just do that. They gave it more everything, and including the electronics and the fuel economy and all of that stuff, and it makes you feel alive, but not in a way that's unusable.
It's not scary unless you dial it that way.
Yeah.
Because that torque, you can find it in any gear, and if you want to give yourself a bit of a surprise, you can do it pretty quickly.
Well, you just reminded me. Today we rode the BMW in its direct throttle mode. The KTM was on sport mode all day. The KTM's got a whole nother aggressive mode above that we didn't ride today. It's got track mode, and it takes it to another level again. Yeah. And we didn't even do that today. So if you had to pick one to ride home, Mazar, which one are you picking?
I think I'd go to the BMW.
Wow, that's really surprised me.
Yeah, I think I would.
Well, now, the thing about the BMW is I often compare it to V4s and really torquey bikes and come to a conclusion that I prefer the torquey bike. And then over time, I come back to the BMW. I did that with the Street Fighter. And maybe, look, let's face it, the KTM's still on its honeymoon period. It's brand new, right? But today, if it was just based on today, I would pick the KTM. And I have not been a fanboy of KTM. I have not liked. I've been quite vocal about my dislike for the 1290. This new 1390 is a different bike, and I've surprised myself today. I would rather have the KTM based on today's ride than the BMW, and I'd rather ride that one. Well, if in doubt, buy both of them.
Yep, absolutely.
And I did.
So that's how the solution is.
So if I get a crook back or I'm feeling too tired, I'll take the BMW. But if I want to be engaged and have fun, and look, there's a lot more discovery to be had on this KTM. It's brand new, and I'm in honeymoon period, so it's a bit unfair at the moment. And we'll keep you tuned as we go on this KTM journey and we explore it in all of its glory. But I hope you've enjoyed this video today. And great to have Mazar on my channel, and you'll hear a bit more from Mazar in the future. I'm pretty sure he's going to relaunch his YouTube career soon. For now, though, thanks for watching, and see you later.
Yeah, see you later.